All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Two Beers with the Band. I'm your host, Chris Schrum, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Mr. Wes Aaron, and we've already been talking a little bit off the mic. Man, you guys are in for a show. This man has some stories to tell, which I'm definitely ready to listen to. And we got a couple of beers here. Well, I'm not going to lie, we got more than a couple of beers here. So if we get through the first two, got a few more down there. And as long as my lights stay lit and the SD cards don't run out on me, we're going to get a lot of information today, a lot of gold. So, Wes, if you want to introduce yourself real quick to the crowd, once we get through that, we'll jump in this first beer.
Yeah, well, thank you, Chris, for having me. My name's Wes Aaron, and I am a entertainer. For the last 15 years, I've been an Elvis Tribute Artist, Elvis Impersonator, and get to love on people for a living and just try to be a light in the world for a little while. So.
All right. Let's go ahead and jump into our first beer. Our first beer is No Guardrails from Barrique Brewing and Blending, located here in Nashville. And this is a Czech-style Pilsner. And if I know anything about Barrique, which I do, I'm going to enjoy this beer because this beer is going to have a whole lot going on. All right. So this is a 1 pint can. It is 6.5% ABV. Production time 9 weeks. All right. So I'm going to set that there. And hopefully, there we go.
And when did they come here, Chris? How long have they been here?
Barrique has, honestly, I don't know how long they've been here. I was introduced to them probably about 7 or 8 years ago. Okay. And I really enjoy their beer. Their beer is not straightforward. There's a little complexity to at least all the beers I've had, which I enjoy about them. What I've noticed about Barrique is they have a fan base that is just hardcore. Okay. I mean, these people love anything they put out. And I can see why they do, because they take their time with every beer they put out.
Sounds like it.
The way they age their beer, the care they take in it, the way the barreling of the beer, the barrels they choose to put their beer in. And they do, from what I've gathered, try to use a lot of Tennessee-based products in their beer, which I enjoy. But, honestly, they put out a good product.
Yeah.
And, even some of the beers I've had from them that I don't like, it's not that it was a bad beer. It's just wasn't my style. Or maybe it was aged in a barrel that I was just kind of like, it's not my thing. Or maybe it was a little too sour. Not to say it was a bad beer. It's just I'm not a huge fan of sours. Yeah. I do like them, some of them, but some of them I don't like. But all in all,
no guardrails.
Right.
Okay. Cheers.
Let's take a sniff, see what we get.
I recognize the smell, but I can't really place where I've...
Well, it's going to be, at least what I'm getting out of it, I'm getting a very, very light malt flavor.
Yeah.
That's kind of where the or aroma rather. That's where maybe the sweetness
It smells
is
sweet.
coming up from. But I'm almost getting a little bit of a banana.
Yeah, banana or yeah. Sometimes I'll get a Pilsner beer
Yeah.
that tastes banana-ish.
Yeah,
You know,
it's-
if that's a word, but this is not overwhelming, the smell or the taste.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, let's
Let's try this.
yeah.
I actually like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's straightforward.
Yeah, it's not no aftertaste. It's refreshing.
Yeah. The
It'd be good for winter or a hot summer day.
well, it's definitely good right now, and
It's how much percentage?
it's right there.
4.5.
I missed that earlier because I'm not wearing my glasses, and that's what I get. It's 4.5 ABV. I believe I said 6 point.
That's okay.
Barik, I'm sorry, I failed that. I will wear my glasses next time. But anyway,
Yeah,
this,
that's a good beer. I mean,
yeah, very clean finish. This doesn't just.
it's not heavy on the palate
Yeah.
at all. It's actually it goes down really easy.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
does.
as
Well, it's got a mild to medium body,
yeah.
and it has just enough hops
Yeah.
to kind of clean up, well, to balance the sweetness, but the hops clean it up on the back, so it doesn't really leave a real sweet kind of mouth coating.
I'm
Feel
all
to-
about local businesses and stuff, and I thank you for introducing me to this because I do a lot of local. I try to give my money to local breweries.
Yeah.
Especially being a Nashville native.
Yeah,
The fact that our history, we had a lot of beer at one time, and then it just all went away, and
yeah,
now it's making a resurgence, and people, not just bring a great product to people, but you got local businesses that help the economy, give jobs, give people purpose.
yeah.
that
Oh, yeah,
before,
absolutely.
want to make yeah, this is amazing. I'll have to get more of this. This is good.
Well, I think.
In the future, I mean, that's going to be one of my beers of choices. We did good first off the bat.
Yeah, I think somewhere around here, I should probably have 2 more of those. So,
No, it's a good beer. It's usually, when I drink a beer, if I'm performing, I usually don't until after the show. I'll have maybe a beer or two to get some rest or something. But
right.
for the most part, sometimes the venues that we play, they give you there's a free beer there's a certain beer that they give away to the bands for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's not that good, and then sometimes it's like, oh, this is pretty nice. But every time I've drank one of those beers, it's like, and I know you've been here where it's late in the night, it's Friday or Saturday, you're about to go on stage, and if you do drink something afterwards, or even if you drink something before, it's like, halfway through the beer, it's like, I want to drink, but it feels like I just ate a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
And I'm full, and I
Yeah.
don't want to be full, and yeah, so this is one that I would definitely have in my arsenal so that I wouldn't feel like I just ate a loaf of bread. In the wintertime, too, my choice is, I'm glad you introduced me. It's, January the 31st?
Yeah.
And, of course, the weather here in Nashville is crazy right now. It's supposed
Yeah.
to be 72 Monday.
Yeah, it's a lot nicer
Yeah.
today than it should be normally. So
And this is when I would drink in the winter too. I usually go to a darker beer in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Because you're doing yard work or any type of manual labor.
Right.
A beer doesn't last that long. So this is one I would actually try to take my time with and enjoy it instead of just.
Well, yeah, and what you're going to notice as this beer warms up a little bit, and as it sits in the glass and opens up a little bit, kind of like wine,
Yeah.
you're going to get some different flavors. I think the malt, you may see the malt show up a little bit more. The hops will definitely show up, but they're not going to be aggressive.
Okay.
But you will notice them. But I think you'll notice the malt is going to be a little more forward as it sits here and warms up a little bit.
And this is a Chas malt? Is that what it says? I need glasses too. Czech
Style Pilsner.
style Pilsner. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It's nice. Very nice.
I like that beer a lot. So, all right. Now that we've
Got something to sip on.
right. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you do,
Okay.
how you got into your career. What we were talking about earlier as a child.
Yeah.
Kind of
Excuse me.
what led you to where you are now.
Well, my mother, as a small child, I guess I was kind of I was very overactive. Probably had a little hypertension, very hyper and
Yeah.
everything. I was born here in Nashville, and 17 days after I was born, they rushed me to the hospital, and the doctors told my mother and dad that if I made it through the night, probably wouldn't make it past 5 because my heart was just not in good shape. And so I made it past 5, but I was in Vanderbilt Children's most of my childhood from the time I was born till I was 11.
Yeah.
11, I died for a little while. I was gone for a bit, flatlined. I had a acute tachycardia growing up, and when in that time period, I was born in the 1900s, so at that time it wasn't. Now it's pretty. It's not a big deal, but back then it was pretty bad, and so my heart would get out of rhythm, and it would just beat really fast.
Yeah.
And after about 20 minutes of your heart beating in tachycardia mode, tachy meaning fast,
Yeah.
your fluids start backing up, your lungs, your bladder, everything. So my heart and Vanderbilt, the last time I went to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, I got to, sometimes I would go visit people as Elvis and love on them and everything. And I got to see my file. They showed me my file.
Yeah.
And it's pretty thick. But my heart, when I was 11, my heart was beating 322 beats a minute
Good gosh.
for over 5 hours. And they put me in ice. They put IVs all through me. They put catheters because all your fluids are backing up.
Yeah.
And it just stopped. And so, yeah, I got the afterlife experience when I was 11. Got through that. Came back. Not anything you would see on... nothing, for me, it was nothing like you see in the movies, like they make it, or on these religious television shows. It wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
I was hovering. I did see my parents over the bed, grabbing me, crying, yelling for the doctors. I did feel warmth and light behind me. I was focused on my mother, crying, grabbing me, trying to wake me up, and heard music. And it pretty much changed my life. So, and as you see, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. So, and I wanted to sing what I heard.
Yeah.
or at least be as beautiful,
Yeah.
as powerful. Have not been able to do that, but that's yeah. So because of that, my mother tried to instill in me something that I could do that would keep my busy imagination and everything going. Because, like I said, when your heart's beating fast all the time, most kids, their heart rates are 70, 72, Mine was like, on the average, without an attack, 90, 95, beating that all the time.
Yeah.
So then I would go into an attack and it would just go to like 190, 200, So my one of the doctors said if you could put him in something that is scripted, that he'll have to take steps to do it. Something that's active to keep him active, because as he gets older, he needs to be a boy and needs to be strong and try to grow. But he's going to have attacks till he gets older.
Yeah.
And the doctor told my mother if we can get him past the point of where he stops growing and being a boy and he's a young man, his heart should slow down. And he was right. And so I have not had an attack since I was 34, but had a real bad one at 30, and had to go to the hospital again. But yeah, for the most part of my life, it's been the one thing that's kept me humble.
Yeah.
And made me want to. I was very loved, and even in the hospital, nurses and doctors took care of me. I'm here because of them. So, I just I do what I do because of I think we all do what we do in life because of certain things that have happened that have made impacts on our life.
Oh, well, of course.
And that was probably the main one that steered me to wanting, because she put me in dance, because dance is regulated, not freestyle, but like ballet and tap. There's a shuffle step, shuffle side step, and you had to, beginner wise, you had to have a uniform, and there was a regiment to do as a small child, and I had to listen and I had to focus on doing that one shuffle step till I got it right, because my mind was everywhere. It was just bouncing. It was not just having probably a deficit in learning.
Yeah.
Was not very smart in studies growing up, but I could entertain people. I could make people laugh. So that, between the dancing at 6 to, I think I quit around 14, that all helped. Plus growing up in the late 1900s, there was break dancing and other things that was going on that I could use my skills for.
Yeah.
And so, but I never, I was always like, when the guys and stuff were running around doing daredevil stuff, I was always the chicken, because I knew that if I do that, I could have an attack, and and you just can't do that. So it kept me from trying a lot of things that were probably harmful to me at a young age, especially trying to be an entertainer and going to California, going to Chicago, going to the Keys, going wherever I traveled. But there was a lot of things that was offered and around me, and I just couldn't take a chance on doing anything because I knew it would just. So it kind of kept me off of doing anything like, the drugs or anything like that, because I knew it would be like a death sentence. So I could drink beer, and, I could have a glass of wine, and that would actually mellow me and help me sleep and everything. So, but for the most part, I didn't even know that I always knew what I was going to do. I always knew what I was going to do, no matter what happened in my life. Because of that moment at 11, I figured I had a purpose. I had a reason for being here. And I had no other gifts. I mean, I wasn't intelligent, still not intelligent. I was not wealthy. Came from a middle class, working class family, so I didn't really have, those kind of things. But I had a love of making people laugh and I guess I feel people's emotions.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that they were happy, or if I was doing a serious role, I wanted to make sure that they were affected. I wanted, I think that's anybody that does their craft, whatever you do, whether it's be singing, painting, dancing, writing, you're doing it not just for yourself, because you can do it for yourself all day and be happy, but I think you want to affect people with your work because it's a part of your soul, it's a part of who you are, and if you're giving and it makes them happy, you want to kind of emote that, give that to them to make their, because as an entertainer, I'm old school, so it's like all I'm there to do is entertain them. I'm not to change their mind on anything. I'm not to get political, religious. All I do is I entertain them and try to make them forget all the bad stuff in the world going on just for a little while.
Yeah.
And give them some peace.
Yeah.
And joy. Because joy and happiness are two totally different things. One's for a split for a little while and one's long period, And
Yeah.
as an entertainer, I hope, all entertainers, that if you're giving and you're loving and you're doing it because you love human beings, you're doing it, you're trying to give a part of yourself to them.
Right.
And you hope you're accepted. And you're accepted if they're smiling, they're laughing, they're cheering, they're clapping. It's, especially with singing, the type of singing I do, it's a spirit, it's from the soul. I love all kinds of music, but the music that I choose to sing, every song that I sing, there's a lot of songs I could sing. I just choose not to sing them because I can't relate to them. So the music that I sing, it's songs I've lived or songs that I can relate to.
Yeah.
And I think all artists sing them better if you've lived that song or, you can relate to it. So when I do my set list and everything, I pretty much choose the songs that I know. There's a few songs people never even heard of, but when I get done doing them, they're pretty happy I did them, So,
Yeah.
When I don't forget the words sometimes. You get older, you forget the words.
Well, I mean, that happens. And and one thing we talked about earlier was the Rat Pack and the crooner style of entertainment, because it's not just singing and dancing, it's telling jokes and, change when you sing a song, maybe changing the words up a little bit just to kind of, pull somebody out of their comfort zone for a quick second, just to kind of like, gotcha.
Yeah.
And then jump back in, and it's entertainment.
Yeah.
And that, that the Rat Pack, those guys, it wasn't just a concert or a show.
Oh, yeah.
It was pure entertainment. And they would get up there and joke on each other. And sometimes one of them start laughing so much, he's like, you do something else, I got to finish this laughing because you got me. And, when you throw them off or they throw each other off,
Yeah.
that style of entertainment, that's a show.
Well, I think, I never wanted to just be a singer, an actor, or a storyteller. I figured if I could do them all, that's what an entertainer did. That's what Dean Martin did.
Oh, yeah.
That's what, even Elvis did, for the most part. He would do the movies and the stuff. And, I've been blessed to do a film, and I've been blessed to do a lot of television. It's not as fun to me as singing in a band, but because somebody else writes the words for you to write as an actor, and and with a song you get to, if you're on on the stage, you pretty much pick what you want to sing.
Yeah.
And the great thing with me is that what I do is I'm trying to honor the image of a man that changed. It's kind of hard. When you do Elvis, it's like being Santa Claus. You can't really. Somebody wants a picture, you take a picture. Somebody wants a hug, you give them a hug. You can't, and a lot of that's because I want to honor Elvis,
Yeah.
but Elvis loved people, and people told me you could have made so much money just taking pictures, dressed up, and charged for pictures. And I'm like, Elvis wouldn't have done that, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
If somebody is kind enough to spend their time with me, or come to see my show, or get married by me, when I marry people, and I work at a place here in Nashville called the Rhinestone Wedding Chapel, and we did over 900 weddings last year. She did, the lady who owns it, Jennifer Hobbs, wonderful lady, and she bought it from the previous owner that I worked for, and she kept me on, and that's probably, believe it or not, at my age, I got to do a lot when I was young, in my 20s, 30s, even in my 40s, which y'all think I'm old now, and I feel like it sometimes. But you would be surprised, the things that I wanted to do in my 20s and my 30s don't matter anymore. And the things that I want to do now, that I'm, at probably the best time of my life, and probably vocally stronger, and financially, I'm not well off, but I'm able to take time off if I wanted to do something, to do it. And,
Yeah.
Most people say, what's your favorite thing to do? And it's nursing homes. It's nursing homes and children's hospitals. And I would rather spend my day, if I was going to do something with my free time, do that, than sit at home, watch a game, hang out, and play music. As I've gotten older, you realize if you live long enough, you're going to be there too. And I want to make sure, that I hope somebody comes to spend some time with me, because I've noticed in the nursing homes, those people are people just like me and you, and they're just older, and their kids are off having grandkids, and their kids are off trying to pay off their mortgages. And a lot of these older people, they wait all week or all month for the entertainment to come. They don't have any place to go. They don't have anything to do. And I don't know, it feels like if you make money doing something all the time that you're good at and you're blessed to do, I would suggest to anybody that can play a guitar or a violin or a piano or a keyboard or anything, go to a nursing home. Go to a nursing home, love on some people that you don't know that are in their golden years, and they will love you like you will never have a group of people that will appreciate you and love you and what you do more than those people. And it's I want to do a home tour, and I want to do I'd love to do as many, just for 1 year is on the bucket list, is that don't do anything but just nursing homes across the state of Tennessee. 200 nursing homes, set the calendar every day of the year. Just, not every day, 200 days out of the year, other days you have off. But, tour a nursing home, do the next nursing home, get shirts made up with all these nursing homes on it, and everything, just like a regular concert venue. And they call it the Love at Home tour. Just love on people. And
I can see this shirt. I can see the back of this shirt right now.
Because nobody will appreciate you more.
I'm telling you.
They don't have to. They don't. They're going to be the most honest crowd.
Oh yeah.
And the most grateful that you'll ever have in your life. Even if you can only play 3 strings on a guitar, just go play some music for some people. And not just there. There are not nursing homes, not just nursing homes, convalescent centers, assisted living. And also, if you are a musician or if you have any type of talents, I don't care if it's magic, go to a children's hospital. Go give your time and your gifts to children that don't know if they're going to be here when they're your age. You know, every child should have a chance to grow up and be whatever they want to be. And, you know, a good thing is when I was at the venues around here, we always try to raise a little money, and we usually give that. Like if I've got my band, got to pay the guys in the band,
Right.
Four ways. But usually there's always something given to St. Jude's, or a charity that I believe in that are helping children. So it's important to me. I wouldn't want to do this if I hope, because with all the gifts you're given and all the time you put in, and when you realize your dreams change as you get older and fit your lifestyle and what you believe in and stuff, that you hope that what you've been given can help somebody or make a difference. I'm no different than the guy who goes, or you're no different. Whatever you do in life, or anybody is no different. What you do for a living, we're all in the people business.
Yeah.
No matter what you do,
that
we're in the
is
people
true.
business.
That is true.
And until people quit paying or quit needing, they're always going to be. So it doesn't matter if you're roofing, if you're a musician, if you're a plumber. You're not in the plumbing business. You're not in the roofing business. You're not you're in the people business.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm very much a perfectionist when it comes to what I do and how I do it.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I'm good at it, but I think I'm good at it because that shines through.
Yeah.
That I'm why I'm doing it, because I don't want to be famous. I don't. A lot of the people I'm sure are musicians in this town, they want to be on. No, they want to see their faces on that marquee on Briley Parkway. But you know, if it's okay, because I'm still doing what I love to do, and I don't have all the politics and the darkness around the music industry that most people have to deal with.
Yeah.
But, you know, you've
Well,
heard the, you know.
I talk to a lot of people, and I ask this question to most everybody. What is the top of the mountain for you? What is, the point where you can say, you know what, I've made it? And very few of them say, oh, I would love to be on a world tour. Most of them say, you know what, if I could do what I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
full time,
Yeah.
and pay my bills,
Yep.
and maybe play, like, for example, Red Rocks or a certain symphony hall or a certain music venue that is just historical in New York or Chicago or something like that. Something that it's a lofty goal, but it's not, I'm going to sell out Bridgestone. Most of the people I talk to, they're like, man, if I could just pay the bills doing what I'm doing right now, that would be good enough. And to me, that's never the answer that I expect. I always expect, I want to sell out Bridgestone for 2 nights straight. And I'm like, it's a lofty goal.
Yeah, I get that. And for younger people, I tell, my guitarist is 35, and I've played with guys in their 20s, and I've told them, man, shoot for the stars. I mean, you're young. You'll have the energy. You'll never have the drive, the energy, and the least amount of responsibilities that you have right now, being young. Do it while you're young, while you're hungry. When you get older, it's you're fighting father time. You're fighting responsibilities at home. A lot of, as long as you put your home life first and your family first, I think that balances everybody. Once the career or the show business or whatever you're fighting for is the main thing, then family suffers. And when your family suffers, like Billy Joel said, you're my home. So if your family suffers, you're literally sacrificing your home for fame or success or that. And I understand that when you're young, you don't listen to anybody because you know more than anything at that
Right.
point. But it's a great learning time. I learned more in my 20s and my early 30s than I ever learned in my life. I learned so many things. And you get to a certain point in your life, like you said, I'm at the point where there are some things I'd like to do that's on the bucket list, but a couple of places I'd like to perform. But all in all, I get to make a living entertaining people, and I'm able to pay my bills, and I'm able to every now and then splurge and buy myself something. A huge comic book guy, so every now and then I want a comic book. I'll try to buy myself a comic book because that's what I had when I was young, and it kind of takes me back to that childhood thing. But for the most part, I don't really have any like materialistic things. Like I don't have to have this car or that big house, or I'm just thankful and content that I'm able to do what I love to do and make people happy. When I started doing this, I never thought I'd be doing weddings. I just didn't think so. I got a job offer years ago. I started doing it, and I got a job offer in Vegas to work at one of the chapels and talked to the guy on the phone. He was going to fly me out and everything. I didn't want to do it because he's like, we do this many people a day, and and where I do it, I get to love on people. I get to do my thing. They're not cattle. They're not a dollar sign. This is their special day. It's sacred. We try to honor that on their wedding day. We try to honor Elvis, and we try to give them the very best wedding. We try to make the best day even better. And it's no different than a play or a production. The weddings are, believe it or not, most people think when you do weddings, it's the easiest job in the world. And it's really not, because this is their day, and you got to make them happy. And I've learned, as long as you're genuine and you're not trying to be cheesy, goofy Elvis, which I don't do. I do a serious Elvis. When I do Elvis at a wedding, it's like you invited Elvis to your wedding, and he's honored to be there and honored to do the ceremony. And, just love on them, laugh, cut up with them, do some poses, do a little karate action, do some kicks and swinging,
right.
And just kind of try to make their best day better. And for the last 3 years, a little over 3 years, I've been able to really, really enjoy my life doing what I do, because of the Rhinestone Wedding Chapel and the new owner, and because Nashville has become a destination place to do weddings. We're already the bachelorette capital of the world.
Right.
And if you're like me, I remember a time I used to go downtown. I don't go downtown anymore. Locals don't go downtown anymore.
Nope.
So I got in 2016, I had an $1,800 jumpsuit ripped off of me on Broadway from a bachelorette party. I was holding my pants up trying to get to my car because they literally, and I said, never again. And I've not been down there since, except maybe to get onto Lebanon Road one day. I had to go, down and past, but I did not go on that. It's like Vegas on steroids. It really is. And it's just, I don't know why all these people are down on. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like there's no casinos, there's no like buffet bars. All these people walking around, But I'm thankful because it helps Nashville, and we are Music City, USA. But
you and I grew up when we could go downtown.
I remember when downtown was like.
Second Avenue was it.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
There was a lot of risque places on Broadway.
Yeah.
And thank you, Mayor Richard Fulton, the late Mayor Richard Fulton, and Governor Phil Bredesen for cleaning that area up, because now they don't get the credit.
Yeah. Well, and I know everybody is probably thinking this, and I'm curious. Would you call yourself an Elvis impersonator?
No, no.
Because
Tribute artist.
what what is the difference?
What I have been told and what I understand and what I believe, and I know some guys who do it worldwide. I was in a film with one of the gentlemen. He does it all over the United States, and I'm pretty sure I've met a lot of the guys that do it. I never wanted to do the contest. The ultimate is what they call it. I think I do well, but I don't know if they're going to award it to somebody my age.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't have the pipes and the moves at my age or the look, which is stage presentations, some of it, vocal strength, some of it, of course. That all goes into it. But an Elvis impersonator is somebody who dresses and looks like Elvis. Elvis Tribute Artist is somebody who tries to sing as much like him, do the moves, do the music that he did it. Sometimes they'll recreate a concert from a certain year, like the Aloha concert from Hawaii. They'll redo the whole set list, and the whole band will play, and they'll redo it from that concert. But an Elvis tribute, for the most part, can sing, can do the dancing, can do,
The entertaining part,
Yes.
not just
you're not just posing and taking pictures.
Right.
You got to talk a little bit like a man, and you just, and sometimes I just wake up in the middle of the night and I just got to get me some of that peanut butter, man. So you just, just do it,
right.
So, I mean, that's some of it right there. But for the most part, it's when I do it, and I've told people this and they laugh. When I do Elvis, it's probably mostly Elvis, but there's some Fred Rogers thrown in, which is Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, which I grew up on, and a little bit of Barney Fife sprinkled on top. Yeah, and that's how I do my Elvis.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. So you mentioned earlier about a band. Can you tell us a little bit about, I guess, the band, what the band does, and what you guys? I'm sure tell me about your performances with the band. If you guys got anything coming out, or already have something out that maybe the fans can go find.
Well, I'm working on something. First and foremost, before I started doing the Elvis, he was always there. I did it, but I'd stop and do somebody else. But I'm working on a project right now called The King's Meatloaf, and it's a concert that Elvis in attire, and he's doing a few Elvis songs for the most part and talking to the audience. But 1978 rolled around, and a gentleman by the name of Marvin Lee Day and his best friend Jim Steinman put out an album called Meatloaf, Bad Out of Hell.
Yeah.
And of course that was the year after Elvis had passed, but what if Elvis would have lived? So it's Elvis basically doing Meatloaf, and it's me dressed as Elvis doing 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad, Objects in the Rearview Mirror, I'd Do Anything for Love, I'm Gonna Love Her for Both of Us, It's More Than You Deserve, his big hits, and just doing it with Elvis. And because my Elvis is really good, and I hate to say this, but my Meatloaf actually might be better than my Elvis.
I've got to have a copy of this.
But it's called The King's Meatloaf.
Both the video,
Yeah.
I need it on vinyl.
So I'm trying to convince my guys in the band to learn. First of all, we're going to have to find us a excellent pianist or keyboardist because Jim Steinman, that's what he did. He wrote all the music.
I've got a few.
And that you can't really do Meatloaf music without piano.
Oh yeah.
But once we get that done, we'd like to do a tribute to both of the gentlemen at the same time, and because I think Elvis would have loved Meatloaf's music because he was very, I think if you watch Unchained Melody and Elvis singing towards the end of his career, I think, and he was trying to do Star Is Born and everything, I think he would have went to more to Broadway, get away completely from and try to do something very artistic.
Yeah.
And, he had the pipes even towards the end. You listen to Unchained Melody, whew, and I think Elvis would have enjoyed Marvin or Meatloaf's music. Because, he was born in Dallas, Texas, and he was a, Midwest boy, so he wasn't that far from Mississippi, in the scheme of things. And
Well, Meatloaf's music was, I'm not going to say it's hard to put it in a box, but it is kind of hard to put it in a box.
They weren't trying to be, the thing about that, they weren't trying to be a rock and roll band. They were trying to get on Broadway.
And if you listen to the music and you kind of shut your eyes and maybe picture them on Broadway, you could actually see that. Yeah. I can see this.
And they did it kind of like, because they met during Rocky Horror Picture Show. See, because Meatloaf had a part as Eddie, I believe it was Eddie, in Rocky Horror Picture Show. And Steinman was all involved, and they met, and of course, they were doing theater. Right. They were theater guys.
Right.
And they pitched the album, and everybody passed on it besides Elektra. I think it was Elektra albums. And it's still, I think, the third best-selling, most-selling album of all time. It's Bad Hell. And, of course, 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad is one of my favorite songs in the whole world. But when he did I'll Do Anything for Love, that was his biggest hit. And, that's a great song. And Steinman was, kind of like, I consider Steinman and Meatloaf kind of like Elvis and the Colonel. They would have never made it without each other.
Yeah.
They needed each other. It was just two cosmic forces coming together. And when you do that, you're going to have a supernova. And that's what Elvis was. Parker had all the marketing, and Elvis had the talent. Steinman had the words and the music, and Meatloaf probably was one of the few people. Without Meatloaf, I don't think Jim Steinman would have never made it, because his songs were long. His songs were very different. And without Meatloaf, I think Meatloaf brought those songs to life. And he was very passionate on stage. He was very theatrical if you watched him in concert. He was there's a scene that somebody sent me years ago that I think him and Pavarotti sang together at some point somewhere. And then also it wasn't visual, but somebody sent me a clip. And this was back when I think YouTube first started. This was like 2007 or 8, of just vocals of him, Meatloaf singing "Making Love Out of Nothing at All," which Jim Steinman wrote. He also wrote "Total Eclipse of the Heart." So you get those songs like that, and they're just very opera and very theatrical.
Yeah.
The song is a performance in itself just to do it. Steinman was a genius. Steinman was a genius, and Meatloaf was just an amazing vocalist. He had power, just amazing power. If you listen to some of his stuff from Welcome to the Neighborhood, he put out an album, I believe he put that album out in the late 90s, and it was after the Bad Hell 2 album. If you listen to that, I actually wrote a play based around that album. And I always wanted to try to get a hold of Jim Steinman before he passed and say, I got a great idea for this. Because if you listen to that album, Welcome to the Neighborhood, if you listen to that album, it literally, I don't know if he knows this or if he ever knew it or if anybody ever has come up with this, but if you listen to that album from front to the back, it's basically a musical of Jack the Ripper in Whitechapel, London. I mean, if you think of that, then listen to the album, you'll get it.
That's interesting. So it's
kind of like when I wrote a script around it, just like a musical, just dialogue and build characters. Like there's Jack the Ripper, there's the police chief who's looking for her. There's the prince who's a suspect of Queen Victoria. He was one of the suspects for Jack the Ripper. The queen's son, who is the prince. There's also the guy who just a couple of weeks ago they think they've solved it. They think it was I think he was a butcher or a barber, and I think they found something that actually has his. Anyways, they think they know who it is. Just the last couple of weeks, they think they have figured out who Jack the Ripper is. But there was such a mystery there. If you listen to the song and just it's deep, but it's kind of like when you put Pink Floyd on with Wizard of Oz. You ever done that?
Yep. Boy,
Yeah.
I was young. And,
Yeah.
That
It works though.
Yeah, that was an experience
Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Turn all the lights off and TV
Yeah.
and I was 100% sober.
Yeah.
So I couldn't
I did
imagine.
it sober too.
I couldn't imagine being under the influence of
Or anything else that
Right.
people decide to do.
right. That wow.
Yeah.
But I'm curious.
Sorry, I'm just rambling, but listen to the album sometime. It's on Spotify, it's on Pandora, whatever, but it's a wonderful, and it sounds like a soundtrack to a Broadway play. It doesn't actually sound like a rock and roll album.
Well,
So,
in saying that, do you think that if you took that idea and presented it to not necessarily Broadway, but maybe even someone in the theatrical arts in Nashville, maybe somebody down
excuse me.
downtown at the theater that
I would love to do it. I just, I haven't had the time. It was one of those projects you put on a shelf saying, we're going to do this, someday, when everything else slows down, But it's like, I don't know the royalties, the IP, all that stuff for it would probably have to go through the record label and
yeah, I mean
the playwrights. You'd probably have to get a playwright company to, I write great, but I don't really ever do much with it because,
well, why not? I mean,
well, I'm waiting for a time. I've written I've written a lot of songs. I've written a couple of plays and a couple of screenplays, and it's when I put them kind of hoping that when I can't do this anymore and I'm not young, I'll have a stack of something that I can do. You can't do Elvis forever. He lived to 42. So when, and you can't really sing forever either. I mean, at some point as you get older,
right.
you lose your, it's one of the last things to go, but still it does go at some point. I mean, unless you're Tom Jones or somebody like that who sings just amazing at his age. And there's a lot of people that sing great at their age, but I try to do between the ballads and the power, I can always probably be able to do the ballads, but the Meatloaf stuff at some point will be too much for a 75-year-old if I make it that long or something.
Well, I mean, why don't you, while you still have the vocal ability, because just me, if you came to me, I like your idea. Of course, I'm not in the business, but I like your idea. So maybe you come to me as a financial backer, and I say, okay, well, I see your script, so go, you perform, show me, so now you have to hit those notes and you have to.
Yeah, well,
So I'm kind of playing devil's advocate.
I would like to check on, just like the concert idea that I'm thinking of, with the Meatloaf and stuff. That's doable because it's a live show and you'll pay the treatment and everything and what you have to pay to get the mechanical license to sing those songs and all that stuff. But for the most part, if you're going to do like a not like that, but like if you're going to do a play, which is going to be in scripted form and it has to be copyrighted in the Library of Congress and everything else, it's got to have that soundtrack. So without Warner Brother or whoever giving me permission to use those 12 songs or 9 songs or whatever it is on those albums, without those songs and me putting it in the order that I want them in, it's a no-go because you can't do it without their permission to do the song. Because it would be hopefully like a Broadway show where you did it, 5 days a week for so many.
Yeah. I'm not talking about.
They want their money.
Oh, yeah. I'm not talking about the legal aspect of it, or I guess the behind the scenes stuff that has to happen, because there are companies, there are people that take care of that. That's their full time job. Those are the business people, where you're the creative. Yeah. And your job as a creative is to say, here is my creation. This is my, I'm not going to say it's necessarily a dream, but maybe it is a dream. And you present it to the business people that they don't see the creative, what you put your heart and soul into it. They see dollar signs and they say, you know what? I like what I'm seeing here. Let me go do my job, which is the business part, the boring part, the unfun part. Let me handle that and come back to you, and then let's get up there on stage and do this, because nobody is doing this right now, but we like it. And we think we can make money. We think we can make you get up there and do what helps you sleep at night. I mean, is that...
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Sense? Yeah. And I would love to do it. I don't know if I'd love to do it in New York. I'd love to do it locally.
Right.
But, like I said, the things I wanted when I was young, don't matter as much as you get older,
That is true, but I think...
But if you listen to that album, you'll be like, oh, I see it. Because there's a song called Martha, and there's a song called Original Sin, which we know what their first original sin was.
Right.
So, it's there. There's a song called Not a Dry Eye in the House. And all these songs just, even if you look at the front of the album cover, he looks like he's in Victorian England, sitting on with his ruffled, and it's like, it's a no-brainer. It's one of those things where you wish you would have had an opportunity to ask somebody something while they were still alive, or gotten the chance to.
Right.
Like, were you thinking of this? Because look at this song, and then look at this song, and then look at this song, and look at the story you're telling. And it's like, look at the history of Whitechapel and Jack the Ripper, and tell me it's not like you wrote it for the story. It's like it fits. I mean, from the goodbye to I'm pretty deep when I do analyzing things, but it's like it's there for anybody that wanted to see it. It's just I kind of came up with it. I just saw it because it's like, have you seen the movie From Hell with Johnny Depp?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty close, dead on to the music they could play if it was like a stage play. And think about Johnny Depp singing, and think about the Chief singing, and think about her singing. It's and do it. It's a dark play, and I think that's another reason why I haven't really jumped on it, because most of my growing up was Little House on the Prairie, Highway to Heaven, the Waltons, stuff that had, and it's like it's a very dark. I mean, you wouldn't leave. It would be like a horror play.
Well,
and I don't know if I love the concept of what I wrote and how I kind of pieced all the songs together to give it the 3-act play, which is basically, stage. But it's like, it's there. And sometimes, I don't know if you're like this or not, and I don't know if other artists out there are like this either, but sometimes you create something just to create. and it doesn't have to have a monetary or. I've written songs that nobody has ever heard, except me and my my God, and my Savior. I wrote it for Him. I sang it for Him. That's it. So it's like some things you do just to maybe stay artistic and stay creative. You have to grab a palette and start painting, just so you'll paint better if it's a year from now. Sometimes you have to get the juices going just for your, and it's like it's not my music. Also, like if it was my music, it would mean so much more that I would put my music, my song, my lyrics to a story. It's kind of like when Jim did all the work. I'm just kind of putting it together, and basically, you've already got the characters in the songs. I'm just letting you know a little bit about their background and who they are. So it's like he did all the work in the songwriting and in the album. I'm just kind of like giving it a time period and a place. If that makes sense.
That's fair. That's fair.
So,
but in
it's not really my baby. It's like it's what I would have.
You're dressing up somebody else's baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, do you?
And he deserves the respect, all the respect in the world, because he was a musical genius. So I think.
Do you think that you could write an album, or do you think out the songs that you have written that you could put an album together that could be turned into a stage show?
Yes, but to be honest, it would probably be a gospel stage show. I write more gospel than I do anything. It's spiritual music, but I've got enough there. I write a lot of ballads and I write a lot of gospel. I don't write a lot of rock. It's more of the generation I grew up with. I listen to my father's music. I listen to my music. I listen to a lot of like Jim Croce and Nielsen and, a lot of old stuff that people don't listen to. And there's probably a lot because like, Harry Nilsson was like the fifth Beatle, they said. So, he was friends with them, and Elvis was a huge fan of his. And so it's like I listen to the music that encircles and complements what I do, because there are times I have sang other stuff besides Elvis as Elvis, but it's always been my request. I did a Take Me Down by Alabama as Elvis, and people loved it,
I bet that was fun.
I mean, it was great. I loved Alabama. I grew up on Alabama.
Right,
right.
So,
yeah. So, but it was my dad's music. My dad introduced me to all my favorite musicians that I listen to. It's my dad that, so, and a couple other celebrities, that had a huge impact. But they're basically good Lord Jesus and three men on this planet steered me to what I do. And of course my mother put me in dance, but when you're young and you get to hang out, backstage at the opera and other stuff, and you meet famous people because of who your parents knew, it has a big impact on you. And later on in life, it still has a big impact on me. So, it's and you want to make those people proud. Some of them are still here and some of them are gone, but the people that inspired you, that's the first people you want to please and make,
Yeah, well, I can see that. I can see that 100%. I don't necessarily, at least with this, I don't really have anyone I look up to, because what I'm doing here is I haven't heard anyone else do this same concept, and I'm doing this for me because I enjoy talking to people like you. I enjoy learning new things. I enjoy the art behind the music, or anything that has to do with the music industry, production, lighting, engineering, the business end. I would love to sit down with people and talk about the business, because I have no idea past the creative aspect, but the creative aspect, the show, putting on a show, what does that take? Putting on a concert is a lot different than, filming a TV show. Because a TV show, if you make some horrible mistakes or lighting's bad or something, you can cut that out and redo it.
Well, also, too, a live band is always going to sound like a live band.
Yeah.
When you do a TV show, it's got to sound like the album.
Oh, yeah.
As close as possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and for a show, for the most part, I've got 3 guys that back me that are excellent musicians, and they, as long as my vocals are good, they make me sound even better. So it's like, if you got a team, put it this way, I believe this strongly that men need men, and men need fellowship just like women do. And if you're in a band, you've heard the horror stories that some bands don't get along and they hate each other. Music's about harmony, and it's not just on stage. It's about spiritual harmony. If you can get some gentlemen that care about you, that you can call friend, that if you broke down at 2 in the morning with a flat tire, has nothing to do with money, they'll come help you change the tire. If you can get 3 or 4 guys around you like that, there's nothing you can't do as an entertainer, as anything in life. Because Alexander had great generals. He had a father, Philip, that taught him everything. And what Alexander did was he picked his best generals. If you look at all the most successful men in the world, who they surrounded themselves, whether it be C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, they surround themselves by the Inklings, if at their school. If you're, you look at the Beatles, at the very beginning, you could tell the difference between when they were and then when they were going, because at first they were just harmony. It was making the music. It was about a brotherhood. Later, towards the end, it was about this wife and that and this, and things, But if you can stay focused on what you're going to do in life, and if you put your heart and your soul and your passion into it, and I believe in, the art of attraction, all that, energy, I believe in all that. If you do it honestly, it will take you longer, but it will be more successful, because you can do it quickly and cheaply, and it will maybe give you a little bit of time and fame or money, but it won't last. If you put your heart into it, you're doing it for a reason. You're doing it honestly, and you surround yourself with a team. Because, like I said, you look at any major figure in the world that made a lasting impact, they were surrounded. They were surrounded by other men that helped them get there. Nobody makes it on their own. Nobody.
Yeah.
And, I don't, like I said, the most important thing is that people get entertained, and the band's there to do music, and I'm there to do music, singing lyrics, and we work as a team. That's 4 of us. So if you got 3 wheels running and 1 dragging, you ain't gonna get anywhere.
Right.
So I tell everybody, fine. I had the best friend in the world, and he supported me. He was a genius. He had a career in film, and he's no longer with us. But with me, he's passed. But he, if you have somebody who believes in you and inspires you and tells you, whether it be critiquing, professional critiquing, telling you the truth.
Right.
Because a true friend will tell you the truth. They'll tell you whether it stinks or it's whether good.
Yeah.
And you want that.
Yeah.
You don't want a bunch of yes men around you.
Right.
You want somebody who will say, because you only play better basketball playing against somebody better than you. You're never going to get better playing somebody that's not as good as you.
Yeah.
So you want people smarter than you. You want people more talented than you. If it bothers your ego, you're in the wrong business. You got to humble yourself and listen. And it's hard to do when you're young and when you got a lot of dreams. And, of course, it's a different period now than when I was going. In the 90s, we didn't have YouTube. I was more like vaudeville. I'd get on a plane, fly somewhere, go audition, get a gig for a week, sing in a bar, make my $890, $900, which was a lot of money for a week's pay in the 80s and 90s, come home, And, now there's so much technology. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have podcasts. We had books on tape. That's all we had. There was nothing you could do. Anybody who is young and like has the desire, or any age that has the technical experience, like, I admire you so much for what you do. I'm not a technical guy. I can get up there and I can perform all night. I can make people laugh. I can cut up. I can act like a fool. I can hit some high notes. I can hit some low notes. I can't do technical stuff. I just can't. It's not my gifts. And you've got to know that. You've got to know your limitations and say to yourself, it's okay, I'm not good at that. I'm good at this. So let's focus on this. And if you learn that, it's okay to learn it. Just realize, even if you learn about it, it's good to learn about it. But if you know you can't do it, you pretty much have told yourself you can't do it, and you're never going to be able to do it. So it's like, it's all about doing what you know you can do.
Yeah.
And then somebody inspiring you or teaching you how to do something you can't, and being humble and smart enough to listen to somebody instead of saying, I don't need your help. Or, I've been there in the 20s, 30s. I burned a lot of bridges because I was cocky and arrogant. And I was humble, but you're in your 20s and 30s, and which isn't a bad thing, guys. I admire all of you guys. I wish I could go back. I'd love to be 20-something again. I'd be like Alexander without the army, though. It wouldn't do me no good. But yeah, it's. I think if you surround yourself with gifted, talented people, everybody from Johnny Carson to, James Brown has surrounded themselves with talented people because it makes you look better.
Right.
And as an entertainer, if you're front and center on stage, you need to look better. You're never going to be as good as you think you are. I'm not. But the people behind you, besides you, they make you look better. And in entertainment, that's what it's about. It's about showing your peacock feathers,
Yeah.
So, it's got to be humble enough to get. I got better as I got older because I realized I can learn something, even from young guys. Even though I've been around the sun more times, they know more about riffs and more about, what note and all that stuff. They throw it and we just do it, So,
That's
arrangements, everything. And you hope that life will throw people in your path that are good for you. And I think we all have the same amount of good thrown in front of us. We just have to recognize it. And the ones that are good, don't let them go, because males, women are different. Women become best friends in grocery aisles. Within 6 months, they'll be best friends talking about shampoo. Men are different. We basically don't become, after a certain age, you don't really get close,
Yeah.
It's like, for men, it's a trust thing, and it's like you have to have battles and like war and scars together, and that kind of bonds you.
Yeah.
Our relationships are a little bit different than women. So if you're a man and you're in this business, always have somebody you can trust. Always have somebody. If you don't have them, pray for them, because you need every Lone Ranger needs a Tonto. I'm just letting you know. So.
All right. Well, let's get into this second beer that we got.
So this is a good beer.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
It's like, it's just still crisp after cooling down or being warmer. That's very nice.
All right. Well, I'll let you introduce this beer. This is the one you brought, and I'm ready to get into this, especially after all the
well, everybody,
peanut butter talk.
Everybody, I brought the peanut butter milk stout from Tailgate Brewery. I got this at their Hendersonville location, which is next to the lake, and they are good people there. And I decided to do the peanut butter because, I do Elvis. So. Peanut butter.
Right.
And I had no idea how foamy. He told me it might foam up. Well, huh?
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, you got to watch it.
Yep.
When you pour that bad boy, I can smell the peanut butter from here. Yeah.
It's like a loaf of bread.
I poured mine a little bit aggressive,
It's okay.
as you can see, but that's fine. Well,
Chris, I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to ask on camera, but back in the 70s, when Coke came in real green glass bottles, and you can get them in 16 ounces, you'd pop that thing off, and it would have that much foam, and you could keep Cokes would stay, just pop the top back on, and they put so much more carbonization in them now. Like, you open a Coke now, and it'll be dead. It'll be dead in like an hour.
yeah.
Any of the cola companies. But you would get foam on the Coke, and that foam was like a dessert if you're a kid. And
Oh, yeah.
It was like you do it on purpose.
Yeah.
You just
And you-
suck all the foam up.
Yeah, get all over
All over your face and everything, yeah.
Just, yeah.
Good
Yeah,
times.
I remember that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's see how this is. I smell that peanut butter.
Boy, that is a strong.
It's strong.
I'm getting.
Is that what the stout means?
Well,
Stout.
actually, if you'll, the peanut butter on the front is obviously the peanut butter part of the beer, but the stout part, if you'll kind of dwell on it for a second, you'll get kind of a dark chocolate,
Yeah.
or maybe an
Yeah.
espresso,
Yeah, I felt
or
like
just a real dark, meaty coffee.
completely different than the term stout man.
Right.
It's
right,
a different kind of stout.
Right.
They
Right.
get the same.
But are you getting the
Yeah, I can.
kind of the dark chocolate?
Yeah, I can smell it.
Or the espresso on the back?
Very kind of like a mocha type.
Yeah. But
Just a little bit.
if you can kind of separate the peanut butter aspect from it and just kind of localize the espresso or the dark chocolate.
It's got a pleasant smell. It's a lot, it's a lot more active on your nasal passage than the last one.
Oh yeah.
This is like a
definitely
carnation to a rose.
this should definitely give you a little bit more. But that is a very dark beer.
Everybody, if it comes out this dark, go immediately to the doctor.
Right.
Ooh, that's
Got a little twang to it, doesn't it?
does.
Good or bad, wouldn't it? What do you think?
I couldn't drink it all the time. But I personally think this would be good if it was like it was about a month ago or 3 weeks ago. 6 degrees outside,
Yeah.
freezing cold.
Oh, yeah.
Snow on the ground.
Yeah.
This would be what I would, and in front of a fireplace.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be the perfect beer, and probably not more than one.
No, I couldn't. I
I don't think I could do maybe 1.5. Maybe if there was like, what is this, 12 ounce?
I could do.
Probably do 16 ounces.
I could do maybe 2 of these. Maybe
Yeah,
two,
any more.
2 stouts is about my limit.
Yeah.
Because anything past that, it just.
Well, it's like a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I feel full after my first one.
Yeah.
I'm not really going to enjoy the second one because I'm going to be miserable after I drink it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to a buffet
Yeah.
back, before COVID, and you just needed a cot to lay down.
Right. Because you enjoyed it so much. But I've had to I've had to, over the last couple of years, especially when it comes to porter, stouts, any kind of heavy beer, I've had to kind of approach it differently. You got to approach a beer like that with a little more respect. You got to kind of slow down and enjoy every sip instead of, okay, I enjoyed the first two or three sips.
Well,
now I'm just going to drink it like a beer. Well, that's when a few hours later you're like, oh, that was just way too much.
Yeah. I don't know, like, in the summertime, when it's hot, humid in Nashville, because we have the worst humidity here, besides like Louisiana. We do get really humid here. And people don't realize when they come from, meet people from all over the world, and they come here and they can't believe how hot it was. We literally had a couple. The bride passed out. They were from Oregon or Seattle. They were from Seattle, Washington. They came here to get married. I married them. They had went drinking the night before, but because they're from the 45th parallel and humidity here, and she literally passed out at her, like at her wedding. She was miserable. Because her body wouldn't acclimate.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to drink water, and you got to, you can't be drinking on Broadway till 2 a.m, and then 110-degree day heat index in Nashville,
Yeah,
which is what it feels like in that wedding dress, I know.
Yeah, we got air you can wear in Nashville in the summertime.
Yeah.
Air you can wear.
Yeah. But I think, like on those days, the heat index is like that. There's that beer that the first one you just chug, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's like a bottled water in the desert. The first one's gone. Then the second one, you get halfway through and you slow it down. Couldn't do that with this. There's just no way. It'd make it, what I'm saying? There's no way I could chug. This is a sipping beer to me. This is more like not sipping, more like, it's more like a drink, swallow, rest a bit, do it again.
This is a good beer for a good conversation.
Yeah.
This
it's
is the
going to
kind
last.
of beer that is going to last, and you kind of sip on to wet your whistle while you're talking and enjoy the flavor. And as the beer warms up, of course, like everything else, the flavor is going to change a little bit. There are going to be things that are going to be a little bit more upfront, but all in all, it's a pretty decent beer. It's
Does it?
little more on the peanut butter than
It is.
I would like.
Yeah.
But,
But that's what they were going for, I
right,
guess. So.
right. So I'm not saying it's bad beer.
Yeah.
But when it says peanut butter on the front, there's peanut butter there.
Yeah.
In both the aroma and the flavor. It's just a little more peanut butter than I like. But
it's like when you put a whole lot on that piece of bread and just a little bit of jelly.
Yeah.
There's just no jelly here.
Right.
So it's good stuff, though. What's your? Let me ask you this: when you do yard work, what's your beer that you know it ain't gonna last? You got to mow, weed eat, or whatever you're doing. What's the beer that you're gonna drink that you just, if you don't finish one, it's okay. It's not like a sin that you didn't finish. If you have to throw it away or let it go hot, or you just go through them so quick you can't even believe you just drank 6 beers.
It's hard to say because honestly, I try so many different beers. If I know I'm going to be out in the yard all day, and if I go to my folks' house and there's stuff to do, especially in the spring, you got to plant, do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to be out there all day without question.
Yeah.
There's a couple of establishments between my house and theirs where there's quite a selection of beers. So I just kind of, what am I in the mood for? Pilsner, IPA, a hazy IPA. Whatever mood I'm in when I go in the beer store, I just kind of drift towards that style. And then I'll kind of look around and say, what's new? Okay, here's something new from whatever brewery, and I like that brewery. I like what they've done in the past, so I'll buy a sixer of that, as long as it's not, turn the can around, it's 8%. Well, I don't need to be drinking 6-8% beers while I'm out in the hot blazing sun. So I'm gonna say style wise, in the summertime, I'm gonna go with Pilsners, Hefs, IPAs.
IPAs get me because some are good, and then some hit me with that grapefruit juice. That grapefruit, that's
just too
tart.
much. Well,
No,
I think
some are good. I like IPAs, but I think it literally has to do with the alcohol amount. Like,
a West Coast and a East Coast IPA are going to be different.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a lot of people, not a lot, some people I talk to, they're like, "Oh, I thought an IPA was an IPA." No, and that's kind of leading me into the whole reason I think beer and music work well together or are very similar is, for example, a West Coast IPA. For that beer to be a West Coast IPA, there are certain flavors that beer is going to have to deliver. But each brewery is going to take that base flavor or that base profile for the beer, and they're going to add their own little twist on it.
Okay.
And that's what makes that beer theirs. That's like music. An artist can say, I am a indie rock artist. So their music has to kind of have a certain base to fit the indie rock genre.
Yeah.
But they're going to put their own little twist on that, their music, to make it theirs. That, so beer and music have a lot in common. And that's why I like to combine, this show with craft beer, is because...
I see what you're saying, because like the San Francisco rock scene back in the 60s that had like Jefferson, Jefferson Airplane and all those guys, and of course the Seattle Sound, Nirvana in the 90s and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Milwaukee Sound, of course, rock and roll in the 50s. All it's geography. And the beers are the same way. It's like you get different tastes from different areas.
Oh, absolutely.
So you don't do any of the big giants though, like the Milwaukee or St. Louis breweries that are like we've known for like the sponsors that do huge sports and.
Well, I've done that, and
they're all pretty bland after a while though.
You got to think, and this after I discovered craft beer. Of course, growing up. When I was in college, we really didn't have a lot to choose from as far as, we had all the basics. Yeah. And when I discovered craft beer, and I kind of went down that rabbit hole just like everybody else did, when you say, well, hey, let me go back to the standards, and you would open up the Bud Light or you would open up the Coors, and you're like, I can see what I enjoyed about it back then, but my palate has changed so much.
I understand.
That I'm going to try to enjoy this beer now, but I'm not coming back. I've moved on.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm going to come back and I'm going to reminisce about the time we had together, but I've moved on. You're still my friend, and we'll talk and hang out, but I'm going to devote myself over here. And that's what, craft beer has taken me away from the mainstream beers. And, in Nashville now, it's even hard to find if you go to a restaurant or a bar.
Yeah.
It's hard to find those, which I'm okay with because I wouldn't get them anyway.
Yeah.
And these younger people, that's not beer. That's a lot of their response. And you know what?
It's their granddad's beer. Yeah.
Yeah, they're right. I mean, look at what they came up on compared to what we came up on. We missed out.
Yeah. I mean, trust me, I've had Schaefer's. I've had Hams. I've had Schlitz. I've had, of course, PBR, of course, but Hams and Schlitz. And what was the other one? God, there's one. Lowenbrow.
Oh, wow, I have not heard that.
Tonight is kind of special. Lowenbrow. But yeah, I do Coors Banquet, not Silver Bullet, but like if I'm doing yard work, I'll get a 6 because I know it's just going to sweat right through me.
Yeah.
Well, but it's a loyalty thing out of that.
Well, it's a good beer, but go ahead and tell us the story about Coors Banquet.
Well,
hey, what's up, y'all? So this is the end of part 1 of the interview here with Wes Aaron on Two Beers with the Band podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it so far. Part 2 will be out in 2 days after this one posts. So depending on when you're watching this episode will depend on if part 2 is out yet or not. Either way, in order to make sure that you get notified for every single episode that drops here on Two Beers with the Band podcast, make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you never miss an episode, especially if you listen to part 1 and you want to wait for part 2 that comes out in a couple days. So if you enjoyed this episode so far, make sure you go ahead, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And what we're doing here at Two Beers with the Band podcast is taking these long interviews because we have a lot of great conversation that spans 2, 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes with these artists. And instead of having a big, long, 5-hour-long podcast episode that you may lose track on or something, we've been breaking them in half, and we're going to put half out on a Tuesday, half out on a Thursday. So that way you can enjoy each one of them in a little bit more of a bite-sized chunk. If you like this format, make sure you leave a comment down below. Let us know, hey, I like it being broke down a little bit shorter time period. If you want something in full length, make sure you put a comment down in there as well, too. Oh, and who am I? Sorry, for those of y'all who are not familiar, my name is Harkos. I not only edit this episode, but every episode here on Two Beers with the Band podcast. And I also have my own podcast called Music Making Sense Podcast, where it's all about music marketing, branding, and how to have success. Real success as an independent artist. Every single week I drop a brand new episode doing a deep dive on specific tips and tricks or maybe even struggles that happen within the music industry that independent artists such as possibly yourself go through on a regular basis. I break down different ways to avoid all these obstacles and how to survive and thrive in the music industry on your own terms, not having to worry about selling out to a major label and not having to worry about continuing to work that 9-to-5 job or multiple part-time jobs that you just can't stand anymore. So if you're an independent artist or you know somebody who is an independent artist and you're struggling to figure out how to navigate everything in this crazy industry called the music industry, make sure you check out my podcast after you get done with Two Beers of the Band, of course, called Music Making Sense Podcast, available on all platforms. Links are available at musicmakingsensepod.com. Make sure you check out the whole array of different episodes that I put out. I even go live every Wednesday reviewing your music and discussing marketing and tactics and everything like that that you can use as well too. Absolutely free to submit your music on the Wednesday night live stream. Again, all the information is available on musicmakingsensepod.com. Make sure you go there now. And again, like I said, this is the end of part 1 of the Wes Aaron video right here, interview. So get ready for part 2 coming up here next.